Well, here it is, Masonic Lodge number 666. This lodge is located in Hershey, Pennsylvania. George Long, again another old one, goes way back, male phallus. You can figure that one out. But just goes to show you that times really haven't changed that much. We still have paganism rampant. And of course you can see there, as I did in my IFBC studies, you can see the shape of the Greek Parthenon. Again, another column-shaped type of a thing there. I don't know, is that an obelisk or not? I have no idea. This one definitely is, though. These obelisks are everywhere. These women with the wings of a stork that's mentioned in the Bible. Now this next one's very interesting. Here's the cornerstone on an old Baptist church building, an old Baptist phallus house. Members prepared for Christ's return to earth. Many members embraced mysticism, an intensely personal union with God through concentrated prayer, worship, and work. In other words, they're trying to work their way to heaven, but they were into the New Age kind of concepts of mysticism. Is Beltane. So, and it's a May Day, the May pole, phallic ceremony. So it's interesting that they would have erected it on May 1st. Julie A. Vance. And it's, you can't see the sign there, but it says Positive Practical Christianity. You know, you gotta have...
Hello, my name is Dirk Hughes, Director of the Michigan Masonic Museum and Library. Today we're going to talk about the Grand Lodge system of Freemasonry, the system of regular lodges worldwide that can trace their heritage to one specific historical event in the early 18th century, and the birth of what we've come to know as modern Freemasonry. Though Freemasonry existed long before this, it wasn't until June 24th, 1717, when 4 Masonic lodges in London gathered together to form the very first Grand Lodge, geographical areas both near and wide. Today there are almost 200 separate Grand Lodges supervising thousands of regular Masonic lodges across the globe. There was 1826, when a number of our territorial lodges decided it was more expedient to have a Grand Lodge governing them closer in proximity than the New York Grand Lodge they were affiliated with at the time. This annual meeting affords an opportunity for all members within the jurisdiction to actively participate in dialogues with the body that governs them. Ideas, celebrate Masonic goodwill, and reconnect the fraternal ties that bind each of us to both old friends and new.
Masonic history, we have to go back to the beginning of the 1800s, when our brotherhood was being persecuted.
There were 14 original lodges in our Grand Lodge. Of those 14, only 7 remain active today.
Of those first lodges currently working today are Adelphia No. 1 of Mayagüez, Tanamá No. 2 of Arecibo, Estrella de Luquillo No. 5 of San Juan, Aurora No. 7 of Ponce, Unión No. 10 of Guayama, San Juan Bautista No. 12 of San Juan, and Iris de Paz No. 13 in Arroyo.
Mano a mano con la Gran Logia, con el Rito de York, con los Shriners, con la Orden de la Estrella de Oriente y con todos aquellos grupos que trabajan por la masonería por hacer un Puerto Rico mejor.
In the year 1898, the American troops came to Puerto Rico. These troops, many of them were Masons.
Of one of Puerto Rico's greatest poet and Mason, José de Diego. And this grand room where we are right now has the name of José Blois, Noche Puerto Rico. Our Masonic legacy is first of all philanthropic. That must be our first goal. Our second goal is philosophic. We must enjoy doing what we do in the most essential way. And third, we must be good, solid citizens in our families and within our neighborhood.
Hello and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social mood anymore.
So Masonic organizations around the world to this day support, of course, we have everything from dyslexic tutoring centers.
Grand Lake Masonic Lodge rocks!
Hidden in plain sight, members of a secret society walk among us. It's been said that they're a group of business elites.
National disaster, such as Nepal and the earthquake, there's an immediate donation, I believe about, say, £50,000 goes to the Red Cross or whichever charity is dealing with that emergency.
Another part of Freemasonry's charity work is their project for providing comfort for sick and injured children by presenting them with teddy bears in accident and emergency units.
I'm Kenneth Edward Coatsworth-Howe. I'm a Freemason. I have been an assistant provincial grand.
Here, at least two things. One, I loved Easy Rider, and the other thing, an exclusive. It says on the cover, Dennis Hopper shoots Nadja Orman.
Yeah.
Nadja Orman is?
She's a German model.
Okay.
And that's a position I was only in for a second, but I tried to do.
Did you blow it after Easy Rider?
I mean, there are moments that I've had some real brilliance, but I think they're moments. And sometimes
Hello, I'm George McKenzie. You don't have to go very far around your community before you find a Masonic Lodge. In North America alone, there are more than 2 million Freemasons. It is the oldest and largest fraternal organization in the world, and Freemasonry is worldwide. So who are Masons, and what do they do?
Persistez-vous toujours dans vos intentions? Êtes-vous bien déterminé à vous soumettre aux épreuves, quelles qu'elles puissent être?
These men represent virtually every occupation and profession, yet within the fraternity, all meet as equals.
On behind the closed doors of the Masonic Lodge. In our prior program, a 32nd degree Mason met with a Christian scholar to find out whether or not Christianity and the Masonic Lodge were compatible.
For initiation. Behind this door, we have a candidate which is prepared for initiation in the first degree of Freemasonry.
Masons come from various religious beliefs and creeds, yet all believe in one supreme being. Many of this country's early patriots were Freemasons. They stood upright as men. 13 of the men who created and signed our Constitution were Masons. Presidents of these United States, also Masons. And the list goes on and on.
Just is hard to try to wrap your mind around. So I wanted to try to find this, and that I have been involved in the past, but not something I have been ever working toward, and certainly not something that is just intuitive to me. Got a awesome little branch flute here that I can take outside and play whenever the mood strikes. Right at the same time, I'm trying to get back into music.
Aspects of the fraternity. The York Rite and the Scottish Rite provide Master Masons advanced study through added teaching levels called degrees. The Knights Templar represents the highest body of the York Rite, which also includes Royal Arch and Cryptic Masonry. The Scottish Rite awards degrees through the 32nd degree in a series of colorful stage dramas. $2 million each and every day to charitable causes, including widows, orphans, and disadvantaged children. Royal Arch and Cryptic Masonry support the Home for Aged Masons in Arlington. Masons' widows who live at the home are supported by the Grand Lodge. The Knight Templar Eye Foundation gives surgical care to the eyes and, in many cases, sight to the blind, without charge. The world-famous Scottish Rite Hospital for Crippled Children in Dallas cares for thousands of children of all religions and races entirely free of charge. In San Antonio, the Scottish Rite Learning Center of South Texas assists children with learning differences such as dyslexia to succeed in the educational environment. Another world-famous Masonic facility is the Shrine Burn Hospital in Galveston. Nationally, there are 19 orthopedic and 3 burn hospitals which not only provide extensive care to patients, but also conduct ongoing research into burn and orthopedic treatments, all with no charge to patients.
last 50 to 100 years, we've reached out to the community.
Impartial giver of all that is good. We praise and thank you for the bountiful blessings which come to our lives.
Or their family. The Grotto sponsors a broad program of dentistry for handicapped children and supports cerebral palsy research. The Eastern Star maintains a home for elderly members and provides educational assistance for young people, to home and to country. DeMolay and Rainbow concentrate primarily on charitable efforts in volunteer service to others. Members of these groups initiation, as well as certain rites performed therein. They have persuaded the most learned among Masonic scholars to conclude that Masonry is of very ancient origin.
And then here renting out to Chase Manhattan Bank. So they are earning quite a bit of money just from the retail. But it is the Masonic Temple and Grand Lodge here. You can see how beautiful this building looks. It goes up and up. Right on 23rd Street, close to a lot of transportation around here. You can see the parking lot of the Masonic Temple. A lot of space. This is an ideal space for someone to put up a brand new tall building. But for reasons that they have, they don't want to do that. Probably the space is, they have other intentions for it. They need space for, harkens back to a different time. You can see the way they've designed the 24th Street side. It's even more ornate than the 23rd Street side.
This article relates to mainstream craft Freemasonry, sometimes known as Blue Lodge Freemasonry. Every Masonic Lodge elects or appoints Masonic Lodge officers to execute the necessary functions of the Lodge's life and work.
And so the dome must go. How can they get rid of the dome? Well, there must be a war in the Middle East. There must be a World War III, just as Pike told Mazzini, and it must be focused and centered on the Middle East. And maybe those buildings will be destroyed. Maybe they'll blame it on Iran or Iraq or some other Muslim Arab leader. The Kriegel Guide, a pictorial guide to the temple. This is Herod's temple. And this is the temple that many believe that the Masons and the Jews want to rebuild. Others talk about building the Temple of Solomon. These scale models, and by the way, one of these scale models, it can be found in the Rockefeller Museum in Jerusalem. Yes, there is a Rockefeller Museum. What are the Chase Manhattan Bank's Rockefellers doing with a museum in Jerusalem, and why does it have a scale model of the temple to be rebuilt? By the way, here's a model of the Ark of the Covenant that these Jews of the Temple Mount Foundation claim that they have readied. They say the real Ark, they know where it's at, but here is just a part of it. By the way, in his book, Albert Pike, remember I talked about him, the former sovereign grand commander of Freemasonry. In this old book, Morals and Dogma, that he wrote, he talks about the meaning of the Temple of Solomon and the necessity of building a Temple of Solomon. In fact, he said, in essence, symbolically, the Temple of Solomon is built in the life of every Mason. So it is their goal to rebuild this Temple of Solomon. Now, let's move real fast here, and I wanted to tell you about this book, an amazing book. This man, John J. Robinson, wrote this book.
With the negatives, they're silver come from silver.
My name is Corey Hawkins, and I serve as the Most Worshipful Grand Master of the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge Free and Accepted Masons jurisdiction of Alabama. And the Masons are here to participate in the commemoration of the crossing of the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
I couldn't get here for the 50-year celebration, and I've been wanting to get over here, so we had opportunity to come and experience, just say the Selma experience.
What brought you all here today?
Okay, we're the Road Runners Corvette Club out of Huntsville, Alabama.
Atlanta's Black Freemasons, adultery, mind control, and child prostitution in poor neighborhoods, and their grandmothers, who may be Eastern Stars, on Sweet Auburn Street, the Prince Hall Masonic Lodge. Look no further.
That some of you already know that it's hard. It's not easy. It's hard changing your life. From anybody, don't give up on your dream. Their rough times are going to come, but they have not come to stay. Then they die. They stop growing. They stop working on themselves. They stop stretching.
I mean, them, you don't know who you are. I challenge you to forever be the best copycat in the world.
And even though you face disappointments,
when you become an individual,
that you can make your parents proud, you can...
As word broke about the Masonic Temple being the target, many people questioned why. We talked to people who belong to the Masons and members of the Muslim community.
There is a chapel inside of this center, but one Freemason says religion is not their focus. Masonic Center had happened. The temple is specifically for Shriners, but they're all Masons.
Freemasonry is the oldest and largest fraternity in the world. It can be traced back to Christ's time.
Jim says the group was started by men who built churches, but they're not a religion. In fact, he says the Shriners and the Scottish Rite are both non-denominational groups. The head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community was just as confused by the alleged plot.
No reason that they should, but in my opinion, there's no reason why they've done any of the shootings that have occurred around the country.
Now, I attempted to talk to the Masonic Center multiple times today. They told me no comment, but they were open like normal. Reporting live in downtown Milwaukee, Rebecca Clough, today's TMJ4.
Rebecca, thank you very much.
Esta é a grande loja da Inglaterra, a meca da maçonaria regular no mundo. Qual deles? Onde as coisas são pouquinho mais caro. Aqui o material não é o mesmo, fazendo as grandes lojas unidas da Inglaterra. Está apresentada a parte externa, depois apresentaremos a parte interna.
Now, at the East Toronto Masonic Temple, and right now is a setup where they're microchipping kids. They got hot dogs, they got hamburgers, they got sausages, they got bottled water, they got everything. So check it out. There they are.
East Masonic Temple doing a child identification program.
A video including the audio part. So the child speaks to the person who's doing the interviewing. Sure. Once that is all done, there's a paper printout with all that information.
Here we are, chilling out in the Freemason Temple on the east side, Danforth and Main, right beside KFC. They were nice enough to let us into their lodge. We went into their temple, or whatever you call it. We weren't allowed to film, but it was still cool. They talked to us, really nice guys here.
Boy back there too.
They're one of the most secretive organisations in the world.
There are certain secrets that you have to earn.
Because it's going to start the downfall of them. I wanted you to see how far I am from the Freemason Lodge. How I get protected when I ask for protection from Freemasons and Satanists. This is protection, right? Here we are. From my doorstep to Freemason Lodge. It didn't even take like 30 seconds, did it? No, it took 19 seconds. So.
My family are Freemasons. I'm the only girl to go into Masonry. If a man can do it, so can I.
For the first time, we've been given access.
Tonight for us, Pierre.
David, authorities say the suspect wanted to unleash a cold-blooded massacre and spark other attacks across the country. According to the FBI, Sami Mohammed Hamza, an American citizen, planned to go inside a Masonic temple in Wisconsin, lock the doors, and gun down 30 people. Hamza went on a tour of the temple just last week after visiting a firing range, allegedly thinking he would carry out the attack with 2 other radicals using 3 machine guns with silencers. The FBI launched this investigation in September of last year. David?
Pierre Thomas.
Sinister. We're not trying to take over the world, despite all these conspiracy theorists. Responsibility for everything, and she's the head of the fraternity.
That building is shrouded in mystery. I'm Tony Robinson, and I'm on the steps of the United Grand Lodge of England.
Did it? There is a secret handshake, but according to James, it's actually not really important. This really is a...
Well, this is definitely a throne. It was built for the Prince Regent, later George IV as the first Royal Grand Master.
Pretty special to you, isn't it?
Yes, this is one of the jewels worn by my grandfather, who was a Freemason in India, and it was typical of the sort of jewels that Freemasons would get after they'd been master of a lodge.
And this is what I've picked out, a photo of a woman Mason.
Yes. This Grand Lodge, which was founded in 1717, has historically always been all male. But at the beginning of the 20th century, they started women's Grand Lodges, and indeed, many of the suffragettes were Freemasons.
Really? Now that's something I didn't know.
They have the skull of Geronimo. They have the skull of Martin Luther King. They have the skull of whoever they want. But nobody goes into the tomb, because the tomb, the skull and bones, created the CIA via the KKK, via the Queen of England, via the Nazis. Educate people anymore? I don't want to try to educate stupid people. I'm sick of stupid people making stupid fucking posts on my hard work. I'm sick of being judged by stupid fucking people and Satanists. And most of all I give a shit about is one woman and writing poetry for her and doing what I've always dreamed to do, is just write beautiful fucking words.
And Andy, police sources tell me this isn't the first time a sex party has taken place behind me. A claim that Freemasons I spoke to today deny. They say they do not stand for this. It's a secretive organization sitting right next door to the Battle Creek Police Department and the county courthouse.
Thank you for calling the beautiful downtown Battle Creek Masonic Center. Renting our facility, please call Charlie at 269.
We called Charlie and told him how police sources described to us an out-of-control sex party scene. Police sources told us the first officer to walk inside was shocked to find a couple performing a lewd sex act right in front of him, along with multiple nude women, drugs, and men videotaping it all behind these closed doors. Charlie told me Freemasons don't go on camera, and he didn't know about the multiple arrests that were made that night.
One of the world's oldest fraternal organizations, and in Philadelphia they gather in a landmark building right next to City Hall. They are the Freemasons, and for centuries they have been surrounded by secrecy and rumor. Story, Dan?
How are you, Jim? They are known for their elaborate temples and arcane symbols. As you say, their Masonic Grand Lodge in Center City is a national historical icon. But what the Freemasons may be best known for among the general public is secrecy.
Stonemason named Hiram Habib, a master mason who, according to legend, was murdered by his 3 apprentices who wanted to know the secret password and handshake that would identify one as a master mason.
We had these modes of recognition, and that was like a union card back then.
In secrets, a word that could not be spoken in public.
And that's the password. And that's simply to recognize from one mason to another, to confirm one brother to another that yes, I'm a master mason.
It is a universal brotherhood, and so we can communicate as Freemasons universally with symbols and allegory.
By 1700, they evolved into a progressive gentleman's club, no longer limited to practicing stonemasonry.
the mid to late 1900s that we have seen a shift.
The Prince Hall Masons of Philadelphia most notably rally around the Stop the Violence campaign. Many believe the fraternity puts its members in key positions to help control the U.S. government.
To me, that's the stuff that movies are made out of. The conspiracists would just never go to rest.
But many of our founding fathers, including George Washington and Ben Franklin, were Freemasons. Philadelphia's last 4 mayors were all Masons. Mayor Wilson Goode, Governor Ed Rendell, Mayor Street, and current Mayor Michael Nutter. But even with all these influential Masons, membership is down. To boost it, they want everyone to know you don't have to be invited to be a Mason.
I cannot ask you to be a Mason. That desire must